Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So I've been listening to Big Finish audios for quite a while now, but I've never done reviews for any of them before, as I've always struggled to keep up to date with all their releases. But I'm going to try and change all of that. I'm going to review as many audios as I can, provided that they're ones I'm interested in anyway. I'll probably try doing one review a week, but we'll have to see whether I'm able to keep to that. Anyway, so for this first review, I'm going to review the recently released Lost Stories audio, Operation Werewolf. I know this was released over a month ago at this point, but hey, better late than never, I suppose. So what did I think of the audio? Well, I actually really enjoyed it. It's quite strange to think that it is almost a pure historical starring the Second Doctor, which is something that had pretty much died out during his time on TV. I know Big Finish have done them before, but I still find it a little bit odd, even after all this time. I mean that in a good way though, as it means that the guest characters kind of gets a bit more development than they would in a much more science fiction heavy story. Well, when I say more development, I mean by classic series standards anyway. But still, the pure historicals, or pseudo-historicals as Operation Werewolf technically is more like, tend to feel more like character-driven stories, as opposed to the base Under Siege ones that became such a staple of the Troughton era, and I think Operation Werewolf is a really good example of that. All the cast were on pretty top form, especially some of the guest cast like, and you'll have to excuse some of my pronunciations here, Leonie Schleising as Lenny Bruckner, Michael Higgs as Sir Aubrey, and David O'Mahony as Fergus, although the regulars of Michael Troughton, Fraser Hines and Wendy Padbury as the Second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe respectively also did a great job, don't get me wrong. But I think it says a lot about this story that the guest characters were so strong and really stood out. Maybe this is just me, but I never felt like I was just listening to some actors using dodgy sounding French and German accents. They really brought the Resistance members and German officers to life and helped make the whole thing feel much more real and alive. And I think the benefit of this audio version is that you don't just feel like the characters are on a small BBC TV set at Television Centre or Lime Grove Studios. Every single location feels real and genuine, and you really do feel like you're listening to a World War II story. You've even got a small non-speaking part for Winston Churchill. I think Jamie Robertson did a great job with the music and sound design. The incidental music sounded exactly in keeping with what the TV show would have used at the time. What also felt very in keeping with the TV show as it was at the time was the whole villain scheme that Professor Richter came up with. He, Bruckner and Sir Aubrey planned to send German troopers across the English Channel to invade the south of England and then hypnotise the inhabitants to be completely loyal to the German side. This sounds a bit bonkers, but as I say, it does sound like something that would have been used in a late season 6 story. I mean, the lead characters even mention how similar it is to things they've encountered in the past, with Jamie and Zoe referencing Tiamat from the Seeds of Death, and the Doctor referencing Mavic Chen's molecular dissemination experiment from the Daleks' master plan. The reveal that Fergus is actually a descendant of Jamie's was actually pretty well done, I thought. It did honestly surprise me a little, even though I would have expected it if I had read up about the original version of this story beforehand. Speaking of which, as far as I'm aware, this audio version is pretty faithful to what Robert Kitts and Douglas Camfield had originally planned for the unmade TV version. I think it's a real shame that this story wasn't made at the time, as I think it could have gone down as one of the best from not just the season, but Patrick Troughton's era as a whole. Although I can understand why it wasn't made originally, as I believe the show's then production team felt like it was too soon to do a story set during World War II. We have to remember that it was being mooted as an idea just over 20 years after that conflict had ended after all, and it would also have been very difficult to do on the show's then very limited budget. So I'm not surprised that was another reason why it never got made. I suppose it's a bit strange that Big Finish decided to keep the individual episode titles that Camfield and Kit came up with, as obviously this was something that the show had long since stopped doing by that point, and maybe Big Finish didn't really need them. But it was a nice touch and a good way of honouring what Camfield and Kit had produced. I thought the story did a good job of making the audience aware of how high the stakes were for the sake of human history. It did actually kind of feel like everything was about to be rewritten at one point, after it seemed like the villains' plans were going to work, and when it seemed like Zoe was going to tell the Germans about the D-Day landings. Maybe that was just me getting too much into the story, but I do like the feeling when it feels like things aren't going to go the Doctor's way in a story, even if it was only pretty brief, all things considered. The cover art by Georgie O'Boy is also pretty good. But anyway, so yeah, I think you all know what my rating is for this story. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed listening to it, and even though some elements seemed a bit bonkers, they still had a certain charm to them, and I feel like we were really robbed that we never got to see this story on TV. Just everything about it appeals to me, honestly. But there's my review of the Lost Stories audio Operation Werewolf. But what did you think? Did you like it or not? And did you agree with my thoughts? Please let me know in the comments section below. Anyway, so thanks for watching, I hope you liked it. Please don't forget to press that subscribe button below, as well as press the bell icon at the side of it, so that you'll stay notified of when all my new videos come out. This channel currently has 2,308 subscribers as of time of writing and recording this video, but if we can get to 2,500 by the end of this year, then I will do a Q&A, where you can ask me whatever questions you want. Just keep them polite, please. Also, please rate and comment below your thoughts on all of this, and please feel free to donate to my Ko-fi page, link in the description, or send me a YouTube super thanks below if you want to, of course. And I shall see you all in another video. So until next time, bye bye.